Hi everyone, welcome back to yet another video. And well, we've just had the last episode of Gundam GQuuuuuX, and boy oh boy was this one actually quite the exciting spectacle. Everything that has happened so far has basically come through. In the last episode, we had Shinji basically telling Char Machu and Yan, or Char Machu more specifically, that he was going to destroy the world that Lala had created in the Rose of Sharon. As time went by, the episodes kept on going, and apparently, yes, we did see the original Gundam in the Prime timeline, and we even saw what might have been several aspects of the original Gundam show in clip form, used to highlight what happened with Lala. Anyway, it turns out for a fact that this universe is basically a product of Lala's mind, and apparently in this Lala's universe, she wasn't able to move in time to save Char. And Char took the beam saber strike after the Gelgu was crippled, and he blew up. And as a result, she went mad with grief. And then time and time again, she tried to basically create a world in which Char would live. But every time Char was killed, and she'd scrap the whole thing and try again. Eventually, she figured out, why not give Char the Gundam? That actually give him the best reason to survive. And, well, he did, because there's no armor array to kill him. But things start going downhill from there, because Shinji knows for a fact that basically the world will be destroyed, so if he kills Lala, then the whole cycle will be repeated. Well, at the same time, Char wants to send Lala back to her own dimension, or own universe, because the Zen Novas are running rampant and will destroy everything, or Shinji will just wipe the universe out of existence using his new type powers. And in this, seems like the fact that new types have the ability to warp space and time if they're specifically powerful, which does put the credence of that Lala saying, I can see all of time itself at when she goes poof, and various other forces. Because throughout the episode, the battle goes on, and all kinds of stuff get dragged in. For example, Lady Cassilia was actually still alive at this point and wounded, but then somehow Side 6 gets involved when then one of their battleships strays into the area and gets blown to bits. Meanwhile, on the Soden, people are wondering what will happen next, as the whole situation just begins to destabilize. At the same time, an unknown white mobile suit, the original Gundam, as it appears pretty much as the set design, comes in with Shinji at the controls, and Yan, who's basically been sort of going like, what have I done? Decides to help. But she gives an inspiring speech. Well, meanwhile, Lieutenant Ensign Xavier and Charallia Bull have been fighting pretty much a do-or-die battle at this point, whereas Char manages to break off, and he's planning to send Lala back. But then Charallia Bull and Char get into a bit of a mobile suit battle, with both pilots fighting basically one in their do-or-die strength. Meanwhile, Machu and Yan, using their growing new type bond, decide to basically fight with Mav tactics, and they perform a very coordinated attack. And it looks like, with Machu going in close and Yan using her beam rifle and bits for support, they might actually pull it off. But then Shinji plays his trump card, and the original Gundam, in reference to a Gundam manga, comedy manga, in which the fact that Xenon soldiers thought the Gundam was huge, has the Gundam grow to massive size, actually gaining mass. And in doing so, it has the same sort of space timing warping effects applied to it as the Elmeth, or the Rose of Sharon. And basically, in the fight, it proves completely immune to beam weapons. Yan is taken out of the fight when the Defran is destroyed, crushed, and she bails out in the core fighter, forcing Machu to fight alone, but it doesn't go well. Meanwhile, Charallia Bull and Char continue fighting one-on-one, and it turns out that Kakaroga basically is a combination of the others, Young and the Brown Bro, because we know the fact that it's a mobile suit type thing strapped to a booster rocket, and he can use all these bits to fire and attack in different directions. And the head, like the Xeon, can serve as an escape pod. Anyway, in reference to the original Gundam episode, Char's red Gundam loses its head and an arm, but not before he pretty much decapitates and cripples Charallia, destroys the Kakaroga, and forces Charallia Bull to eject. Meanwhile, in the battle, it turns out for a fact the Omega Psi comming system mounted on the GQuuuuuX was designed to cause a Zen Nova event. And now with its limiter removed, the system fully activates, and it basically turns like a berserk mode, like an Evangelion, with a mouth opening up to reveal like a blue jaw, and it even groans and roars like an Evangelion did when it went berserk. So that is pretty cool. Nice Evangelion reference. And while Lala is still coming to, Shinji and Machu keep going at it, but Machu is able to use this Nova effect to block his giant mobile suit's beam saber, and then she charges up the arm, keeps going up, grows her beam saber to massive size by using the same space warping effects that allow a Nova to occur, and then, while they're in the Kira Kira, Shinji confesses to Machu that he loves her, and then Charallia Bull says for a fact new types are the ones who suffered for their freedom, suggesting for a fact that most likely Machu has gained or earned some degree of freedom out of all these events. And she slices off Shinji's giant Gundam's head, defeating him. Well, Charallia Bull's escape pod is hit, and he's left floating in space, adrift. And then it turns out for a fact that she wasn't actually trying to save Char, rather she was looking for a true new type. And then Lala fully wakes up, her psychomy system fully activates, and then she activates a massive Nova effect, and then takes Shinji and his giant Gundam and large chunks of the asteroid away in a massive Nova. And that's the end of that. Following the end of the episode, Char announces his claim to Zeon, and, well, he starts doing charity work. Lieutenant Ensign Xavier pulls Charallia Bull out of his wrecked escape pod with a cockpit unit. It turns out for a fact that you think can actually disconnect like a panoramic linear style cockpit. Another excellent reference to the universal century timeline. And basically says for a fact, time to build that new world you said you were going on about. And about how the fact that Artesia, Char's sister, will have to take the throne of Zeon. Yan is safe, whereas Machu now is basically grieving because Shinji is now gone. Where he is, no one really knows. He's just gone poof. It's unclear exactly where Lala went, or if she took anything else with him. But one thing for sure, Lady Gisli is now dead, and, well, it turns out Zeon has got enough on his plate. The post-credit scene shows Machu's mum discovering the fact that her daughter is okay, she's perfectly fine, but don't come looking for her, she's a wanted criminal. And Artesia takes up the throne of Zeon as its new sovereign / princess / queen, or whatever they want to call it. And the scene most likely shows her coronation, or sometime just after it, as she climbs the stairs to take her place on the throne. And Amate and Yan are on a beach somewhere on Earth, I believe, just relaxing, and the episode ends with Machu telling Yan that they'll meet Shinji again, and she says the fact that Gundam says so. So yeah, talk about 12 episodes leading up to possibly one of the most epic climaxes ever. And the world eventually, I suppose, stabilising for the moment, but who knows what might follow in the wake of it. I don't want this to be the end of the show, because this has probably been good. And there's probably a lot of adventures still yet to have. After all, Yan's still a wanted criminal, and you never know, maybe Shinji's still out there. His original purpose gone now, he's trying to figure out what to do with himself. But that's just purely speculation. Well, I've been the Universe Challenge, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheerio!